there. Wow. Okay. Welcome to our very last hangout for MUS 654, which is a music class that actually happens in a real space at the University of Chichester. Part of the class, though, is that we do online things and we reach out to the musical community and to other people who are musicians, some professionals, some students, some just play music, and we talk to them. And the overall objective of the class has been that the students registered for credit have to make a curriculum for someone because they're all studying instrumental or vocal teaching as part of their degree. So they're making a one-year plan for a student of their choice. Could be a young person, could be a grown-up, could be whatever they want. And in that year's plan, it has all the bumps and goals that a student might have. So it might be concerts, takes into account things like actually there's a holiday season and you're not going to practice that much over the summer because you won't see your teacher. And they have to do things like touch on the different sorts of repertoire, what they're going to do, and it involves being creative. So they have to invent things too because we don't always just learn from the book. So today we have with us Pete, who is a guitar player who's been at every single one of these, and our extra special guest, Alan Levine. And he featured in the class last week because I went to America and interviewed him in person. So if you want to go back to the class and read the interview, the transcript of the interview, because there's a bit of wind noise on the recording, you can do that. And then in our session now, hopefully we'll be able to get the real live catch-up story of what's happened in his musical life since then. So a brief hello, yeah.
Are there tacos involved?
Oh, we had the best tacos when we met up in person, and then I got so sunburnt. I was suffering after that, but they don't make tacos like that in the UK. I can tell you that it was a bit special. So musically, what do you think about the what keeps you going when you're learning? We were just saying because in the UK, it's November, late November. It's just gone 6 o'clock at night, and it's pitch black. The sun has been down for at least an hour and a half. And at this time of the year, some people get a bit, and musically that can happen too. Especially in this time of the year, academically, we're coming up to assessments, and students get a bit panicked and worried about things. So what keeps you going when you've got something to do and things are like either getting you stressed or you're feeling the pressures of constraints? What do you guys think?
You go first, Alan.
Well, I don't. I'm not in a formal. I'm kind of in a self-education music mode. So I guess, I mean, I don't know say how long I've had my guitar and not really learned it. And so it's just been the last year or two where I've gotten a lot more comfortable with my own playing for myself. So for me, it sits like at home. I have a table. I work on a kitchen table, and my guitars are sitting right next to me. And so sometimes I'll just stop in the middle of the day because someone will mention something or a song or make a musical reference, and I'll just be like, wow, I wonder if I can find the tabs for that and if I can pull off figuring out how to play. So I literally sometimes just drop what I do, especially because I'm self-employed and I kind of make my own schedule. But yeah, the evening time is I live alone. It's my time just to put the computer down for a while, and sometimes I'll be there at 1 a.m. just because something came to mind. Occasionally I get this wacky idea to try to do a cover song, and then I can't stop until it's done. But there are times when it just sits there. So but like having it there as a constant reminder. I don't know if anything seasonal really drives any of that. But I know it's like, oh, I could be doing something else with this time, or I could be cleaning my kitchen, or I could be writing. And so yeah, and when I start playing, I know I'm going to lose like an hour, but I don't really lose an hour. So the playing is kind of just for me because I'm really just kind of feel like I'm just starting to learn and get to a place where I can do things that reward me instead of getting so wrapped up and like I'm not as good. We'll talk later about the time here in Canada with other friends who are musicians, and I mean, and to be among people who just can literally pick up an instrument and play it deftly, it can be, it's so intimidating. And so, but my friends who I play with, they're not into competition, so they want me to play their, they'll play along with my three-chord blues riffs, which is about all I know, and they'll have a lot of fun with it.
I think you're an incredibly helpful reminder to the people who do music for their profession or are studying to do it for their profession, because there's a saying, it's partly true sometimes and partly not, that things are fun until you have to do them, and oftentimes the people who have to do music get really worried about it, and they forget that actually it's amazing and it's so fun. And so for you to come and say, actually, when I do music, there isn't that pressure and that worry, and actually do it because you do want to do it. That's the kind of thing that we want to remember all the time, because of course we do it because we want to, but that sometimes we can forget just how fun it is.
Well, I do have a secret goal for 2016, and that's to play music in front of people I don't know. And right now, to me, that's like the time I said I was going to try to run a marathon, and I hate running. So I want to take that on as a personal conquest. And really, the fun part of the music is finally saying, I'm not going to try to play it like the musicians. I want to find my own way into some of these songs, and so I'm trying to work on some of my own acoustic interpretations of, rock songs and folk songs and whatnot. So the part about like finding the way I want to do the song has been the best part of this year.
Pete, you've said a lot about that, the importance of following what somebody wants to do and finding your own way in. Do you have anything to add about that, either from the learning perspective or from the teaching perspective?
Well, from the teaching perspective, I think it's pretty important in that everybody's going to physically be different. So some people are going to be, bigger or smaller or, stronger or weaker or whatever. So I think it's good to take that into account when you're learning an instrument, because it's a physical thing. So it's like you wouldn't go into a gym and expect everyone to be able to lift the same amount of weight at the same time. So you shouldn't treat everybody the same in that sense. You take into account that something might be more comfortable one way for some person or the other way for another. So it's good to have those two ways to show them you can do it like this or that, and whichever's more comfortable for you is probably the best or most beneficial so far. Obviously, there are other technical issues why one way might be more beneficial than another, but I think in terms of for the beginner or learning, I tend to always say whichever's more comfortable for you. Because playing instruments does hurt. If you're playing if you're playing if you're playing a stringed instrument, you can like the tips of your fingers, you wear them away, and if you'll be out of breath by the end of playing like a saxophone. So it's a physical.
Only if you do it wrong. Only if you do it wrong.
But it is a physical thing, So you have to have like a level of endurance, Like it's like running. You start running, and you've got to prepare yourself, like you would stretch and stuff like that. So there's going to be an element of resistance. I think resistance is a better word than hurting, because it doesn't it shouldn't be painful, but
Oh no.
you've got to work a little bit, like in that sense.
Oh, there's definitely work, and there's definitely physical, building of muscles. Musicians have all sorts of different muscles, and doctors are often like really surprised if you ever go and have I had a doctor once look at my back, and they said, "What do you do? You've got all these muscles on one side." And I said, "Oh yeah, that's my cello hand, and your finger muscles are down in your back." And then they, it was all balanced to play the cello, but not balanced like an evenly sort of exercised person. I'm much better now, I hope. But yeah, that's true. But what about the repertoire? Because I know sometimes, and we've got two different, knowledge of different situations. If you're self-taught, whatever you play is up to you. If you're taught from a teacher, sometimes you get a teacher who's receptive to things you want to play, but other times you get where you're told what to do, and that transfers to any subject. If you take a class, you get a syllabus, you get a reading list, and so when and how do you diverge and do what you want to do, and when do you seek guidance?
I seek guidance when I can't do something. That's like my kind of general rule. If I'm struggling to do a certain task, I might ask someone about it. Um, Generally speaking, in terms of like musically, I don't really seek guidance in terms of like repertoire unless I can't think of anything to do. Then I might be like, oh, could you recommend me some artists or something like that? And then I might go from what they say. But generally speaking, it's more technical issues I'll seek help with, um, because there's kind of a way that you can do it where there's not a right and wrong piece of repertoire really in my mind. So that's more of an emotional kind of personal thing. But I don't know, that's just me.
And the amount of things that are available to anybody who wants to play, I'll date myself, but my music was on albums or cassettes, which you could play over and over again. And when I wanted to learn a song, I would go to the music store and try to memorize the chords to a song. I'd walk out going G, C, D, F, and the sheer fact that you can find multiple versions of plays, and of course the lessons that people give. It's an insane amount of things to help you, especially when you want to, you get kind of locked into the things you know how to do, and how do you start trying things that you don't know how to do, and so the watching and listening part of learning is something that we forget about, especially in something that's performative. I'm telling this to people who know this, but getting ready to plan my next digital storytelling class, it's always so important. You don't like start out audio by picking up the microphone and the software. It's like you start listening to audio and trying to like understand it in a way that's beyond just casual listening. And so sometimes it's easy to forget that part of just trying to soak in more varied styles. So I don't listen to classical music, but I should at least occasionally do some. It will give you something.
Yeah, Pete did an exercise where he arranged a classical sonata on the guitar.
Mm.
Yeah, Vivaldi's was it concerto? Was it cello sonata or
It's a cello sonata, yeah.
sonata? Yeah, number 5 allegro or something.
Wow.
That was interesting.
But you changed a lot of things with it.
Yeah,
I mean,
little kind of flamenco-y thing at the end, so that was fun. Drove me a little bit mad, but the best things do kind of challenge you and push you to that kind of point, I find. So yeah, it's a great exercise. I would thoroughly recommend it for anybody who's into any kind of music or instruments or learning or anything. It's just good.
Right. I remember. The thing I remember so much about our experience, Laura, is I had no conception that cellists don't play if it's not written down on sheets of music. Like the whole part about just playing, a progression to me is like the natural way of playing. And so I need to think about maybe I need to go back and actually go buy some sheet music too, or I can't read the music at all anymore.
there's just so many different ways. And
Yeah.
it's like you said, if you don't listen, like you personally don't listen to lots of classical music, and anyone can get stuck in what they're used to doing. I really like that term performative, but the idea of listening more than being a casual listener, learning how to listen is so important. But also, so it's like learning how to learn. You don't just fall upon learning and then, oh, you're good at it. So the idea that actually I've listened to different things, I've listened to different artists, and then how did they do it and what might I want to do, as opposed to just being told what to do. If you've got a weekly lesson and your teacher says do this, then you do that. And I remember when I was studying, my teacher once, I was such an eager student, and one time my teacher sort of said, you're stealing my soul, you need to grow, get your own soul, get your own inspiration, what are you going to do? And I thought, wow, I've got to find my own voice, and how am I going to interpret things? And so that then draws upon that, what else can you hear? And it goes from artists from now, related artists, but also archive material, which is so much stuff available out there on YouTube to listen to. And then listening to your own sound. And that's sort of the next level, recording yourself and saying, what am I doing? And how does it come across? And then comes the magic of playing both to others and with others.
Mm-hmm.
Because that adds.
And being with my friends who are like David and Viv, and my friend Brian Jackson, and he teaches guitar in Vancouver. I think you talked to Brian. He's the high school teacher. This thing where they get together and they say, "Hey, let's play a song." They don't really know it, but somehow they can. I mean, I just watched David in amazement because I've seen him where I say, "Can you play me like a little riff from Mission Impossible?" And he's like, "I don't think I know it," and he just starts. You can see it working out in his head, and it's. I don't know how to describe this process of, being able to on the spot play a song that maybe you've never played before, but you've heard it. It just seems
It's
magical.
language.
It's language, and he played some bass guitar in our jam session, and I said to Viv, I've never seen David play bass, and she said me either, and he was. It's an amazing thing, and I'm like I'm in awe of it, and I feel a little bit like, why can't I do that? But it doesn't bring me down as much as it used to.
Oh no, but the thing is, you can do it, and it's saying it's like language. It's so I started my language reading before I spoke in music. Other people, like you, started speaking before you read, and sometimes people write and they don't speak at all, and so you get the different views of what, are you a composer, are you a performer, do you perform from listening, and it doesn't mean that one can't do the other. It's just that we're maybe less versed in one thing than another. And and so the thing is, when you play with all those people, then you just get better and better at what if you're in the right environment, like you were describing, a very positive environment, then it's like nurturing anyone's skills. It's fantastic.
Yeah, well, and everybody's welcoming. I was curious, Peter, are you self-taught or trained?
Yeah, well, on the guitar, I was self-taught for the first sort of 3-4 years, about 3 years-ish of my playing, and then I went to music college, and so we got my mum got me lessons there, which was great of her. So thank you, Mum. But yeah, and Dad. Sorry, but yeah, so that was great. So from college, I've had lessons, but the original kind of learning was all self-taught. YouTube mainly, which is an amazing resource, especially for guitarists. It's good. It's really good generally for like a lot of musicians, but with like regards to guitar, it's just mind-bogglingly amazing. Like you can put in almost any song and then just put guitar lesson after it, and there will be some random on there giving you a lesson of that song. Like even you can think of the most random songs and there will be somebody, and it's you get people that are dedicated to creating lessons like that now, and you see like Goliath guitar tutorials, which is one of my favorite, and he's producing like 1080p, like high quality, 3 different angle shots, like full instructional videos, and it's just it like blows me away every time. Like it's so great to learn the guitar right now. Like you can learn anything you want, and you can almost learn it for free. Like for the cost of like getting a guitar, you can most of the time you can learn it for pretty much very cheaply, which is great for someone that just wants it as like a hobby, or even if you want to just try it out. It's very accessible, and I think that's how music should be generally.
You can almost pick your teacher.
Yeah.
Because I found some that don't work very well for me, and some that are incredible. So the idea about you find someone who regularly produces these things is super helpful.
Yeah. You have to do it for a little while though, and then you can sort of separate like you said, there's some people that are better than others, so you have to like sift through, because that's the only downside, is that because there is so much, you have to kind of sift through to find the good stuff. But I'd rather have that than not enough, to be honest. That's a problem I'm quite happy to have.
And I keep finding, like, when I'm looking for other things in YouTube, they keep suggesting. I keep seeing some of the same guitar lessons come up. It's like a little reminder, like, okay, stop looking at Western films and get back to guitar.
There's an app that a jazz violin friend just told me about. It's called Acapella, and it lets you do multi-track videos of yourself. And at the moment, it's free. I doubt it'll stay free, but it lets you do a 1-minute multi-track video. So that's a
Wow.
fun one. It's fun to play with those sorts of things.
I gotta write that one down.
Jess did that with vocals, and she did like can't remember what song it was, but it was really cool. Like just to see all the little different videos happening all at once. It was awesome.
A cappella. I'm actually writing this down.
So how about when you were playing with your people? Because it's like we've got a live case study with you, Alan. When you, how does that help you on to your goal? Because I know a couple of years ago it was like a huge thing for you to play with other people.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, some of it's the confidence, of just, obviously playing in front of people and instead of just me, myself, and my little house. And honestly, I was just thinking that we were talking about the physicality of it. I always play sitting down, and just watching my friends play last night in a friend's basement. There's like a little concert. I realized like I got to start playing standing up, so I got to buy a strap. I don't have a guitar strap, but I think the idea of standing up and trying to figure out what's comfortable in terms of standing up playing guitar, because it changes everything. And thinking about, am I the guy who just sits there kind of stiff? Am I my friend Grant Potter, he dances around on stage with his bass, and he's amazing. And so trying to think about how I will make that, figure out what's my comfort zone in that. But I think just the act of standing up will open some new doors. Mostly it's just, I mean, this thing where you have this give and take with people who are your friends, and there are a couple of people I don't know really well, and the way, like, we don't have anybody who hogs, so we all take turns, and we kind of mix up the rotations, and I can't play drums at all. I have no sense of what to do on drums, but I occasionally like to sit down and just whack, whack, whack. And so the invitation part of that reminds me, because I don't have anybody I know where I live in such an isolated place. I don't have anybody that I would actually play music with. So it's a real treat to be among really good friends. And it's the thing of like sometimes we'll just do these endless kind of progression jams without much structure, and then someone says we need to do a song with lyrics. And singing is a big step for me. And that's why I do the goofy little songs on the blog as a way, and the DS106 radio, which has been like probably the first time I ever played in front of anybody, was kind of safe because, first of all, there's only like 1 or 0 people listening, but just saying that you're going to go on the internet and play a song was monstrously huge in terms of doing it. Like the threshold of like falling is almost nothing, and that's the benefit of it. So that the thing that people go through of ratcheting up their confidence through experience and through messing up and realizing it doesn't end their life has been valuable for me. And everything is just about getting the sense of that, hey, maybe I can do this.
I think when you go to perform your concert in front of people you don't know, whether it's at a restaurant or a brewery or on the corner or in a taco stand or when you come to the UK next, then I'm gonna play back that last minute and a half because that's exactly your advice that you'll need, and you're completely right. It is ratcheting up your confidence and making sure that each time, at each step, I wrote it down, the threshold of falling is almost nothing, because actually it's that's the best thing. And it's funny, I think, Pete, I'm going to ask you in a second as well, but when you play to people who you don't know, the biggest difference for me with when I have people that I do know standing all around me, I can get the reinforcement, the reassurance from them right away that it's going okay. With the people you don't know,
yeah,
the communication is one way, but it's also two-way, and it's when you allow the door to be open that actually I'm playing something and how are they reacting, and it's like they of course can't say well done, you're doing great, carry on, but you get subtle signs that actually you can tell they're awake and the light bulb's on and they're not asleep, and they think actually, yeah, I do know what I'm doing, I can carry on. So But you're right. It is terrifying. I like to give my well, Pete, and then I have one thing to say, so I'll remember.
Wait, what were you talking about with confidence?
Yeah, and performing to people you don't know. Your turn. Go.
One of my big things was a while back was singing. I was like just oh my god, it was ridiculous. I was terrified of singing in front of anybody to the point where like I would try and sing at home and then be like scared that somebody might come in and hear me. Do you know what I mean? And like you said, the threshold of falling is ridiculous because you know in your head that this is stupid. Why do I think like this? But you still feel and think like that. So you had a way out of that cycle. And the way that I did it was actually through help with a couple of the girls that we went to America with was Izzy and Freya. They ran like a folk workshop, like a folk group, and so we would just sing every week, and it was great because I wasn't on my own. Like so, in my head, no one could hear me, even though everyone in the room could kind of hear you, but for some reason that computed to me as nobody can actually hear me sing, so it's fine. And so like after about a year of doing that, I then eventually started to sing and practice at home in front of my housemates who were also really, really, really nice. So it's kind of like you said with your jams, it's creating those environments that foster the kind of healthy attitude towards learning that will then enable you to put yourself out there or to like push out into your sort of uncomfort zone, if you know what I mean. And then that's when you learn to swim, and then from there you can then go, well, actually, I'm not that bad, and then you start to pick up steam, and then you're okay eventually. So I think it's the main important thing is having those environments. So that's why I would love to come to one of your jams, by the way. They sound amazing. They sound great. So yeah, but definitely like they're the things that you need, and they will push you forward. So having the right people and the right places, I think, is great.
It's kind of it started a couple of years ago at these conferences in Vancouver, and I forgot who suggested. It's probably Graham Potter. It's like this place. It's like in an industrial part of town. It's like a warehouse. It's got all this gothic kind of scary decoration in it, and it's full of. Occasionally, you hear the other bands in the other room, and it's really loud metal music. And we walk in like these 40 and 50 some nerds, but everybody just like hey, it's cool you're making music, and it's literally, I mean, we almost do it every time when a certain number of us gather at a conference. We did it at Brian Lamb's house just the other night. He rented an electric guitar, and we sat around and made music.
It's brilliant. I wish that if for anyone thinking of the music course, this course, the MUS 654, that idea that having the right people and the right setting and encouraging and fostering that sort of good attitude towards learning, and also not just the I'm learning about my instrument, but the whole I'm learning to perform, I'm learning to think and listen, is so valuable. It's really so valuable because there's not just doing music isn't just one side of anything. Learning an instrument, learning to sing is so important. We've heard over and over how important it is to sing. And one of the really valuable things that I find is that you've got to keep learning. If you're the teacher, you got to keep doing it. So I've got in 2.5 weeks I have to sing a song in front of lots of people. So yeah, and that's scary, really scary. I'm practicing that in the space I'm going to be in, big space, in front of my students the other day, and all of a sudden, it happened. I don't have it with me, but somebody pulled out their phone and they just started videoing me, and I was doing okay because I had a little audio recorder going, and all of a sudden I thought, oh my gosh! But I'm always videoing people, with permission, but always videoing, and I thought I better, if I do this, I better take it too, and it's really good to be reminded, actually, it's important. Got to keep learning. Got to keep doing it.
It's I think weird how scary those little 4-inch screens.
That's why I don't wear my glasses, so I can't see them very well. But I was also thinking, like, I think I start to notice that I don't really, come out with the excuses not to do it as quickly as I used to, which kind of feels good. And the part about, I mean, you've done this so many times, Laura, about trying stuff almost as a dare, or that you would say, I can't, I never thought I could do that, or I don't sing. And I mean, the small ones like that, and then singing in front of a crowd in public. I mean, those are the big ratchet steps, and it's easy to say I can't do it and just to not try. The fear of especially performance failure is as you know, it's can be stifling.
But like you said, that how far are you going to fall? For most of us, not really far. If you got the Wigmore Hall booked and Carnegie Hall, and it's a sold out crowd, then you might fall a bit. But the rest of us, it's let's go for it. So we've got we're almost out of time already. But it's any final words?
No, this has been incredibly fun. I just didn't know what to expect, and we had a great conversation. It's great to meet Peter, and I love what you're doing, of course, Laura. And I mean, music to me. I mean, I'm gonna say like stuff but I mean, what a brilliant subject to have to teach, because everything is geared towards doing and reinforcing and getting people to the point where they get some payback from doing this, which you don't get when you're studying chemistry, I think.
Yeah, definitely different. But it's a big thank you to Pete for always being here, because it's harder to have a conversation when there's only one of you. And thanks Alan, for taking the time to join us. We hope to be able to catch up with you next year and take part in your performance. Who knows? You might stream it live, and we'll all tune in.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Well, maybe absolutely.
Maybe. Yeah, it's good fun. So, but yeah. Thank you. Keep in touch, and anyone who wants to pick up any bits of the course or talk to me about it, I'm always on the end of an email or a tweet. So thank you very much. Have a great day, and goodbye from all of us.